you to be here tonight with you. I am coming to you from Omaha, Nebraska, so I'm kind of right in the center of the country, and it is a pleasure to be here. Just in the last few days, I announced my rebranding as the Optimistic BA, and so I've been playing with my graphics ever since. And this is also the first time that I am presenting as the Optimistic BA. So all of you are in on history. And I do have to give two disclaimers. I forgot to change clothes before this presentation. And NOSA has now challenged me because I don't think we'll be done at exactly 7:36 and then 7:55, but I don't drone on very long. So here we go. Let's have fun. 5 characteristics needed to be a great leader. And as he said, I am Judy Alter, and I am your presenter tonight. Leader versus manager. Dictionary definition of a leader: the person who leads or commands a group, organization, or country. Dictionary definition of a manager: a person responsible for controlling or administering all or part of a company or similar organization. Now, leader is not a job title, but it can be someone at any level. A leader is a coach that helps a person or a group to develop. Now, today's business environment is collaborative and resembles more of a sports team mindset. Leaders need to be mentors and develop their teams or peers. And that is why a BA, and especially a senior BA, make such great leaders. And I'll explain this later, but from the job as a BA, you can have more of an effect on the direction of the company and your team and your division than even upper management. And we'll talk about that later. Five characteristics. Ego, set it aside. Instill team attitude. Encourage innovation. Stress excellence. And lead with your heart. So now, let's discuss each of those characteristics. Ego. A leader needs to put their own ego aside. It is not about me, it is about them. Be like a parent and succeed vicariously through the team. Egos need to be set aside by all team members to have a successful team. And if the leader doesn't check their ego at the door, the team members won't. Now, as I said, today's business environment is collaborative and resembles more of a sports team mindset. And athletes are trained with a team-first attitude. Now, that is how business leaders need to train team members, is with an athlete's attitude. And individuals need to set aside their personal egos to succeed as a team. And can you think of any sport other than like an individual sport, if you're playing singles tennis or golf or something like that, that does not need members to set aside their egos for the team to succeed? So let's move on to the team attitude. Team attitude. Team members need to be flexible for the good of the team. Business teams need a strong bench. Team members need to put the team first. And it's all about teamwork. Team members need to help each other and fill different roles. Being flexible and filling many roles happens in sports. A racing team pit crew needs to have a team attitude to get the car serviced in a minimal amount of time. Now just think about it. If the members were all doing their own thing, would the car be serviced properly? Now, I think of the NBA, where there are 6 players who could play all of the 5 positions on a basketball team. The list is very elite. Wilt Chamberlain, John Havlicek, Scottie Pippen, Kevin Garnett, Magic Johnson, and LeBron James. Now, of those 6 players, Magic is thought to be the best at playing all the positions, and he understood it was in the team's best interest. He played in the 1980s when the Los Angeles Lakers had some of their best teams. Now, his flexibility made them better. Growth on a team, well, it's like a marriage. It has to occur continuously, so all members grow together and not parallel. Now, team members also need to develop trust to act as one. They have to learn to be flexible for the good of the team, and the cost can be personal sacrifice. This ties directly with team members needing to set aside their egos for the good of the team. Now, I understand that sometimes a team may not have equal skill sets, and the team needs to do training to share knowledge with other team members. Now, that comes from the leader on down, and all the BAs on the team should be acting as leaders. And this is necessary for a business team, whether it's all BAs or BAs and developers or BAs, developers, and some other position. And a few years ago, when I was working at Mutual of Omaha, I was on a great team. And I was a senior BA, both in age and experience. Our backgrounds were varied, but I had to help the newer BAs understand how to think team, not individual. And in fact, there was one situation where one of them needed to get experience with creating a requirements document. She had to do that before she could even be considered to get promoted. I had been assigned to that task, and I gladly gave it to her to give her the experience that she needed. And I was happy to see her succeed when she took care of it and did a very good job. And that was how I demonstrated to her on how much I believed in being a leader. Now, innovation and questions. Leaders encourage questions and new ideas. Comfort zone is a pit stop, not a final destination. Team members need to always be learning and fight against TWWHADI. TWWHADI is the way we have always done it. And that phrase just makes me rage. That is such a terrible thing to think. You really have to think outside the box. And that is just so true in any job, but especially as a business analyst. You can't just get into your comfort zone and sit there. Things change too fast, as everyone has found out this year in 2020. You had to pivot several times and then again. And if you got dizzy easily, that wasn't a whole lot of fun. If leaders encourage TWWHADI, they limit the team's creative thinking and compromise the long-term success of the company. And they definitely stifle the growth of the team. Need to think outside the box because, as I said, the comfort zone is just a stop, not a destination. A great leader encourages continuous learning, and that only happens when you are uncomfortable. The great leaders never stop developing or learning. When they ask questions, they help people learn to solve their own problems. And a leader who is skilled in asking questions is much better at resolving conflicts. BAs naturally ask questions. Of course, I always have said that BAs are a lot like detectives, and can usually fire off 10 questions in probably about 5 minutes and then come back for more. But at times, that doesn't work real well with your family or friends. I have to tell you, that just doesn't. And BAs need to also be good at leading crucial conversations. You have to keep emotion out of it, though. You have to just state the facts, and you have to admit accountability for your part in it, and then the other person needs to also. And then that way you reach a compromise. And that is always so good when you can have that type of conversation to clear the air. A questioning leader is more aware of how the organization works and the politics. And let's face it, politics exists in all organizations. Well, I guess maybe as I say that, in my own business, unless I just get a mirror out and start talking to myself and fighting with myself, I don't think there's really politics. But rather than fight the politics, use it to your advantage. You have to have an extensive network. You can imagine how large my network was being at Mutual for 35 years. And you need to keep it active and nurture it on an ongoing basis, because that's how you can get things done. Knowing what is happening across the organization, that's very helpful to react to unexpected events. And as I say that, obviously that's if it's a large company. Sometimes a smaller company, you'll know things a little quicker just because it is smaller. But that helps you to react to unexpected events. Now, BAs, just by nature, are in a great spot to be attuned with the other parts of the organization, with all the different projects they work on and the different resources and stakeholders they work with. Now, I feel it's ideal if BAs can work with the same stakeholders and support the same areas, just so they have a little better idea of what's going on. But as BAs, we can pivot very quickly. Now, strong leaders realize that they don't need to know everything, but they just need to know how to ask questions to learn. They also need to be able, if they have checked their ego at the door, they need to be able to say that. I don't know the answer to that, but I will find out. And they can never be threatened, because the biggest thing that a great leader should be doing is nurturing the team to replace them in the future. Because if you don't do that, then the company, you need a strategic plan for succession, and that's just natural. And believe me, if you're good at nurturing future leaders, you will be noticed and you will have good things happen to you. So you can't sit there and be threatened, oh, if I do this or I do that. No, that's wrong. You have to nurture them and bring them along, and you will be successful. So you really don't want to ever stop learning and developing. Now, BAs almost always don't know everything about many of the projects they work on, especially if they are moving from different areas to work on projects. Now, when eliciting requirements, they are leading a team of customers and stakeholders through their issues. They have to question processes, and they really have to think outside the box to innovate, to solve problems. And if they don't, then they are not successful. Senior BAs, they need to be trainers, mentors, and most important, leaders. And in my 35-year journey at Mutual of Omaha, I can remember from the early years, before I ever even thought about leadership, many of my managers kept saying, oh, you would make such a good leader. You would make such a good leader. And I always considered that a compliment. Now, I was continuously learning. I did not stop learning after so many years and just go in every day, particularly when I became a business analyst. That was when I really learned a lot more. And I was a customer. I think they were me in some of my my projects, and then a couple times when they told me no, I went to the board and one. So I think they just wanted me on their side. But at any rate, I was always learning. Even until the day I walked out the door, I can remember being at my retirement reception, and a couple people came through that said to me they really enjoyed working with me. They thought I was so funny, so enjoyable, so reliable, etc. I honestly had to look at their name tags, very discreetly, of course, and I didn't even know them. So it was really odd. And then I finally remembered it was like one project like 5 or 6 years ago. So sometimes it's really amazing how your impact on people is far more than what you even know. And probably the biggest characteristic of being a business analyst is to be a leader. And that is, I could say that for hours. Don't worry, I won't. But that is the key. You have to be a leader. And that part of being a business analyst probably gave me the greatest joy, and to be able to do that. And that was very key. And for a long time, I kind of fought that part of it. I didn't really like that, but then I decided, okay, and I really succeeded even more than I had before. Encourage excellence over perfection. Team members will never be perfect. Be the best you can be every day and strive to get even better tomorrow. Perfection is unattainable and causes unnecessary angst and stress. A great leader encourages people to be excellent, not perfect. No one will ever achieve perfection. But if a person gets better each day, that is success. People who are perfectionists cause themselves so much unneeded stress. And if you have stress, then eventually you're going to have anxiety, and you could even get a serious illness. It's just not worth it. Life is too short to stress. They also tend to be defensive when they do make a mistake. At least the perfectionists are. And I really was a perfectionist when I was in my 20s, and I would get defensive. And a couple of years ago, I was at a conference where a speaker, Barb Corkenard, who's a member of the IIBA Board of Directors, she used the term recovering perfectionist. And I was like, oh yeah, that's definitely, it's been enough time now that I think I have probably recovered. But yeah, that hit right on the head. And one of my favorite leaders always believed that any mistake was the team's mistake, not just one person. And some people, as they get into maybe Agile, they struggle with the term fail fast, fail often. Now, I have felt for several years, probably way before Agile was a thing, that fail stands for first attempt in learning. Now, you don't want to fail on everything you do, but if it happens, it happens. You just need to take accountability, learn from it, and move on and help whatever you need to do. I can remember that I didn't make many mistakes, but boy, when I made them, they're probably still talking about them because they're legendary. I did something on a project, and there were other people that signed off on the document, so the team was all equally accountable, but I was the one that handled it. And the life underwriting area couldn't issue any term policies that day. Well, if you know anything about insurance and not being able to issue policies, yeah, that was not one of the best days of my life. Now, as a recovering perfectionist, I understand the tendency to be perfect. And I have learned many more things when I have failed than when I have had a huge success. I never made that mistake again for the rest of my career, which was several years after that. and that you get more from those situations than you do from your successes, because I was on some pretty large projects at the end that saved the company millions of dollars, and those were very fulfilling. But oh boy, when your failures, that's what you remember. And you know, as I said before, if you are trying to be perfect, you cause yourself stress. If that is prolonged for a long time, you can end up with physical and mental health issues. And it's just work. Take your work seriously, but don't take yourself seriously. That's the biggest thing. Lead with your heart. A leader shows how much he or she cares for their team. Relate to each member on a personal level. Share part of your real self, share their real self to relate to team members. By revealing their true person, the team members believe in their leaders at a different level. Once that relationship is built and they trust the leader, they will listen to the leader and do anything for them. And a BA, and especially a senior BA, is a perfect person to do this, since they need to relate to customers, stakeholders, vendors, and many other people, especially when eliciting requirements and when trying to understand their problems. And a person who you are trying to get information from, if they trust you and have confidence in you, then they will do anything to help you. And if they don't, then they will become what I like to refer to as stake boulders, and they will do anything and everything to make the project fail. A leader is much more genuine and trusted when they admit they made a mistake. They also, as I said before, need to admit when they don't know an answer, because that's what they are always telling their team members, and they're always telling them not to be perfect. Well, guess what? The leaders aren't perfect either. So if you treat every person you deal with as if they are the only person in the world at that moment, you will gain their trust and confidence. And I learned that from two people who are very close to me. And I never realized that I didn't have that until I watched them talk to people. And if you do that, then they will always help you. And as I said, I learned new things all the way up until the time I walked out of the door when I retired. Well, there was a guy who I had worked with in the late 90s who came through my retirement line, and we were talking, and he was probably about my second or third trainee as a senior analyst at the time. And he said to me, he said, you know, your perfect record is now intact. And I looked at him and I said, Jim, what are you talking about? And this guy was very thorough and asked a lot of good questions, and he was kind of a perfectionist, that's for sure. But he did a good job, and I like to think he had a good teacher, me. But anyway, he said to me, he goes, every time I asked you a question, you gave me a right answer. And he said, there was this one time when I thought that you had made a mistake. And as I did some extra research, I realized that you were right. He said, and now you're retiring, so I will never have a chance to prove you wrong. And I started laughing because I never even knew about what he was even talking about. I didn't know he ever felt that way. I do know that he always called me Judge Judy. And I used to laugh, and I thought it was a complimentary nickname because I really like her actually, but I just was never sure. And so I did have to chuckle. So, you know, until I walked out the door, I learned something. And in my time that I have been home since I retired, I continue to learn things every day. And that's what you want to do, because if you quit learning, then you quit living. And you don't want to do that because life is too short. You need to enjoy and take in every moment. And that's why I'm the optimistic BA. The glass is always half full. Now you can also fill it all the way to the top. Well, it looks like NOSA might be right on the time. So I am ready for questions if there are any in the question box. Is it Randy that's going to ask me them?
Hi, Judy. I don't know that we've gotten any questions quite yet, but let me, I'm looking through now. I might have some questions.
Sure.
So I know you have a business and you transitioned from, it seems like you transitioned from being an analyst to doing that.
You're cutting out, Randy. I didn't hear most of what you said.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
Can you hear me a little better?
That was almost worse. I'm sorry.
Oh no.
That's better. That's better now.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Were there any challenges that you can think of when it comes to being an entrepreneur that you think that maybe your experience being a BA kind of helped you maybe overcome?
Oh, yeah, for sure. You know, some of my close friends, first of all, blamed me for the pandemic when I retired because the timing was just right. The good thing for me, I hadn't really set up a normal routine, so it wasn't any different. And I've always wanted to work from home 100% of the time, except when I traveled to speak. So that part was good. But yeah, you know, I had to make a pivot immediately, because as soon as I realized that all the conferences that I was supposed to speak at in the spring were canceled, then and those conferences weren't quite ready to do a virtual conference. And so that, you know, that I had to adjust. And so I started a YouTube channel, and that has been pretty good. I'm not really too, well, shall I say I don't record a lot, and I should. My new website for the Optimistic BA is being built, and it's not quite finished yet. It's active, but there's not a lot out there. And two of the things that I found out that all people don't do is they don't blog as much as they thought they would, and they usually don't keep their website up to date. And I found out that I really do stink at developing websites, which is why I hired graphic designers. But you really have to get used to, you are really the person who needs to promote yourself. And I was always used to doing that at Mutual because of the way our appraisals and things went. And I could go weeks and not even see my HR manager because they're not involved in the daily projects. But I think that as a BA, I'm a bit more organized and such. And so I think that that helps, and I think it helps to kind of draw up some plans and things. But I think you have to realize that you're probably not going to make any money for a while. But the biggest thing that I have been doing lately is, instead of working in the business per se, I have been working more on the business and all the marketing and working with the graphic designers and this and that. And that's the part that's kind of out of my league, but I know it's necessary. And so I think if I can get that done, that will be good. And I have to network quite a bit. And I'm an introvert at heart. I know anybody who knows me through IIBA or business analysis is like, what? But I could just stay at home almost forever. But I've had to put myself out there. And in LinkedIn, it has been very interesting. That's where I've been focused. I do have a Facebook page for the Optimistic BA now, but it's been very satisfying. As I joke, I've never made less money and been happier. And that was the key. You know, when somebody who's been somewhere 35 years suddenly decides to become an entrepreneur, that's kind of scary. But I also got to do my first guest blog. So out there today, I posted it both on LinkedIn and Facebook. Sorry, shameless plugs. Did I answer your question?
You did, and honestly, I'm gonna go check out that podcast. That is really good advice. We do have another question, and that is,
Okay.
what would you say is the most useful BA skill that you have been able to apply as a leader in our profession?
I think it is being able to handle people. I have a very even temperament. It's very rare that I get upset. And I think that being able to handle people and being a very keen observer and listener has helped me, because I will just sit back and let everybody kind of duke it out, so to speak. And then I'll be like, well, why don't we do it this way? You know, and honestly, being involved in IIBA really made me a much better BA. I would have been maybe half the BA I was. Now, I had the support of my director and management, so that was always a very big coup, which I grew to understand that many people did not. But I think that really helped. My leadership skills are what really helped me to be a better BA, especially the last few years as the Global Chapter Council Chair, because some of the people are asleep when we have meetings. So my contact with them is a little different. So I think that's the biggest thing.
That's awesome. We have another question, and someone had some feedback on it, but the question is, do you have any tips on encouraging your team to love learning? And Tina said, maybe making it a part of the competencies that they're held to each year, like an extra incentive. At Humana, she works at Humana, and she says that they would get 3% extra for learning.
Mm.
Have any thoughts on that?
Well, I do. I know one year a friend of mine who's a BA, she showed her manager the leadership webinar series that I've been on for a few years, and she attended all of them, and that was in her development plan, and she had to not only discuss it with him and write feedback and things about each of the sessions. But at the time, she was president of her local IIBA chapter, so she could apply those things immediately. As she was hearing them from one of us, she could apply them right away. And so that, that is the biggest thing. As far as encouraging the people to be learners, I was very good at sharing things with my team and even other BAs. And the last few years, I was strictly on Agile teams, and I shared a lot of collaboration techniques, how to elicit requirements in different things, and the developers even came to those sessions to learn about how to do those sort of things. And I just think that I just put it out there and just offered it. And it seemed like whenever someone would go to their manager and ask about something business analysis related or even IIBA related, they would say, talk to Judy Alter. So I guess I must have done okay, because I usually was able to sit down and talk to them about it, which actually both of those topics I could talk for hours, but don't get excited. I won't, not tonight.
I love that. That's like bridging the gap and
Yeah.
getting on the same page. I love that.
Yeah.
So I have another one just about scheduling. I know being, transitioning to being an entrepreneur where you don't have a set schedule necessarily, might have some challenges and might require you to maybe put things on your calendar that you normally wouldn't, just, working for someone. So my just question is around, have there been any significant changes when it comes to the way that you plan your day to day?
Yes, there have been. And I think it's ever changing. And I don't know that I have set on a final way to do things, but it is kind of a nice feeling on a day when I don't have too many calls or meetings via some virtual tool that that I can just go take a 3-hour nap if I want. Sorry to rub it into anyone who's still out there in corporate America, but that is really awesome. But I just try to balance each day by what I have going on. I am still very much involved with IIBA. And just as a disclaimer and to explain and be transparent, I am a volunteer for IIBA. So I am here tonight as Judy Alter, the optimistic BA, but I would also gladly answer a question about IIBA or talk about that too. That is not a problem, but I always like to clarify that because that can get dicey. So
Yeah.
I really haven't developed a schedule, but luckily I do have a photographic memory. So if I have ever not put something on my calendar, I haven't forgotten anybody or missed anybody.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, well.
I did not know that. That's something to know.
Yeah.
Photographic memory. I wish I had that. So there's another question we have. Communication is extremely important for us as BAs. What advice do you have about when a team member doesn't recognize your dedication?
Well, I think you need to continue doing what you're doing because eventually they will realize that it's important to do things that way. I can remember on the last, about 2 years ago, I was on a team where there was a couple younger BAs, and they kind of thought that maybe I should retire at that point and get out of their way. And then it finally came to a bubble, and I was like, enough is enough. Hauled all the BAs on the team in the room, and we had what I would call a crucial conversation. And it was very productive, very informative, and we reached a very good compromise at existing together. We were a rock star team to begin with, and we got even better. And I just said to them, I said, okay, here's this, maybe this is what we probably need to do. I'm accountable for this. Maybe I should have done that differently or this differently. I'm sorry. I think we can both learn from each other. And then they said, oh, well, they were so worried about missing a deadline. Well, I would have been unemployed a long time ago. And so it was good to bring everybody together and reach a consensus. But I was very calm, very logical, and only stated facts. And I took accountability for several things, even though probably only about 1 or 2 of them were mine. And then they realized I had a lot to give, and I helped them, and they got promoted to senior BAs very quickly, and they deserved it. And they were really surprised when I was so excited. But it's kind of like anybody I've trained, I'm the proud parent.
That's awesome. I love that advice.
Hey, Judy, did you write on 3.0?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay, because I haven't seen you. Hi, guys. I'm Analysts is welcoming me to the chapter. I'm actually from Greater Boston, Albany, New York, Jacksonville, Orlando, and I was on 3.0. So hi, everybody. I'm glad to join your chapter.
Hi, Tina. Welcome to South Florida.
I know, right? It's no more 5-hour trips to get here. Now I just have to drive 3 hours to go see Mickey Mouse, but that's okay.
Same here. That's awesome. Welcome, Tina. We're really happy to have you. I don't, it doesn't seem like we have many other questions, but I do.
I do
Sorry.
want to add to what Judy said, though, because I'm like her. I have been a BA before there were BAs, right? And so
Yeah,
I've worked in
exactly.
corporate America since. And when the first crisis hit, what was that, Judy? Maybe 2003, 2004, when the first recession kind of hit, right?
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, and when our careers started
Yeah,
changing and you started
that
seeing
was.
a whole new group of people coming in and people who worked there for 25, 30 years leaving, it was very, very challenging. And some of us just had to do what we had to do to keep working. So the one thing that I can share is that every day you have to treat it as it's your last day. Every day you have to constantly advocate and explain to clients, because they're no longer your company, they're now your clients, of the right thing to do. And the best way to do that is to do a risk mitigation chart. Right? Would you agree, Judy? So that way you can list for them, what are the risks if we don't, and this is what we can do if they happen. And
Yes, yes. Yeah, you always need to evaluate your risks. Yeah, I would agree.
so it's a good idea. But anyway, and I want to steal your thunder. Nice to meet y'all.
Mm-hmm. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Tina. I have another question for you, Judy.
Okay.
How can there were some that were asking, how can I be more involved with IIBA chapters?
Well, the best way is to get involved at your local chapter. I am fortunate enough that I worked for one of the 6 co-founders of our IIBA chapter. And I remember the night that we had the initial meeting, it was at my company. Well, at our company, most of the BAs scattered by 3 o'clock or 3:30 every day. It was just an early morning place. And there were some late people, so that was cool. You didn't have to worry about people being there to cover phones or something. But that night, there was everybody around because nobody wanted to be the BA that didn't attend the meeting. And I became involved in our chapter at the beginning, and then after about 1.5 years, we chartered and we had our development day. And I became real involved in that. And I can remember after a couple of years, I was thinking to myself, I knew that the chapter, the conference chair wanted to step down. And so when we went to we always had a goodie bag stuffing party. It was really a reason to drink, but we did get all the swag together because nothing sets me off than when you come into an event of any size and the people who are running it are setting up. That needs to be far enough ahead of time. So anyway, I was sitting there and I talked to the current president, and I was going to volunteer to be a co-chair so that after that next year I could be the chair. Well, I said to the current president, I go, Sarah, are you running again for president? And she goes, you're going to have to ask Nikki about that. And I said, oh, okay. Nikki, what's going on with president? And she goes, well, we decided that you're going to be our next president. And so, as they say, the rest is history. And then I was president for 2 terms. There were some things I wanted to get done the second term, and I did a fairly good job. I didn't do everything I wanted to do, but I think we did really good, especially our conference. That was a very that was a great event. But when I was getting ready to leave, and I was ready to leave, let's face it, after 4 years, you're ready. I was thinking, well, what do I want to do? Because I just didn't want to just sit down and just do nothing. So I was thinking about contacting this friend of mine who has a training company, but I never got around to doing it. So one day I'm sitting at work and I get an email from Heather Milan-Maines. She's from Iowa, and she's on the IIBA board of directors recently, but at the time she had the position that I now have. And she said to me, I need to talk to you. Can we talk tomorrow? And I go, sure. And I thought she was asking me about something else. But what she asked me was, I really need a director for the Central region. And me and Jen were talking about you the other day, and we think you'd be very good. And I go, oh, okay. And so within about 7 days, I became the Central region director. And the timing was good because I was rolling off as president in a few months, and I had everything planned to the end. So it was okay. And then I was that for 2 years. And then Jared Goray had taken over as chair of the Global Council. Well, he got hired by IIBA, and so for a few months he did both, but then it was obvious he needed to concentrate on his job. So then I became the Global Chapter Council chair, and that has probably been one of the most gratifying things of my life. And you know, you don't need to go whole hog and get as involved as I have gotten, but believe me, if you get involved, you will never, ever regret it. You won't. And one of the biggest things were the people. At my age, I wasn't looking for friends, and I found a few people that if I could pick sisters, they would be it. And that was kind of the biggest shock. I don't let many people that close to me, but I was really shocked. And I do think that my career was made by my involvement in IIBA, but just get involved at the chapter level. And even if you just help out with a few events, that's one of the biggest pieces of advice that a lot of us at IIBA give to chapter leaders. When you're trying to find volunteers, because let's face it, all over people are kind of struggling with trying to fill their board of directors or get enough volunteers for this or that. Sometimes I think if you have a little leaner board and less volunteers, too many cooks in the kitchen don't work. And I definitely stay out of the kitchen, that's for sure. But just ask them to come help set up for one event, or maybe find a speaker or a venue for one event. And eventually you'll hook them, or encourage, maybe somebody wants to learn about accounting and maybe that's not what they deal with. That's the best way. You really need to run the chapter as a project or as a small business. And that's the best advice I can give. And the amount of things that you will get back is far more than what you will give. Does that help?
That does help, Judy. Thank you for saying that. And we are looking for volunteers, and just as Judy said,
hey Randy, lucky day. I used to be the volunteer manager in Boston.
Well, Tina, send me a message. I'm going to send you a message.
That's your connection. Keep up, girl. Come on.
We're on it. We're gonna be connected, and we're always looking for volunteers, and we're a little family. Like Judy said, we kind of operate like a little project, and and it's what we do anyway. So, and we love it. So definitely feel free to contact me or NOSA. You can send me a private chat here too if you're interested in being a volunteer at South Florida's IIBA chapter. We have another question.
Okay.
I hope I said your name right. She's a graduate and she's unemployed currently, but she recently obtained her ECBA. Congratulations.
Yes.
And she's interning at a...
Thank you for that.
Oh, of course.
You're welcome.
Volunteering at an NFP firm, leading a group of interns applying PM and BABAC techniques. And she says that it's been a great journey leading baby boomers. And she's a baby boomer herself, and she's wondering what her next step should be towards business analysis. And she's also pursuing PhD and BDA, and she's kind of researching through that. And she just wanted to know wanted to hear your thoughts and experience on maybe what her next steps should be towards business analysis.
Well, I think the best thing that she could do is schedule a complimentary 60-minute consultation with the optimistic BA, and we could chat about it. and talk about her
Okay.
her interests and her education and things. And I have a slide at the end that has all my contact information. And I'm not trying to, you know, promote the business, but I am, okay?
Surely, I look forward to that. Thank you.
Okay, that would be great.
Oh, awesome. That is awesome. Oh, and Tina also said, you know, she volunteered for Agile Alliance, BBC, and IB, and so on, and that's how she met Danelkis. And yeah, I'm gonna contact you. And Tina Ravi says, "Thank you for the presentation, Judy." A lot of people are congratulating you, Judy. And so I know it's 7:59. I'll ask one more question to see any others here, and it's just really about, from what I've gathered about you, is that you are honest and you really are about uplifting people and about positivity and impacting people and communicating in a way where people can kind of collectively have like this understanding that pushes the project forward and the objectives forward. So I just wanted to ask a question about kind of like wellness. You know, business analysts are always, you know, running around like crazy people, you know, wearing different hats and all that kind of stuff. I wonder if you have any advice just around like how to stay, you know, what ways, you know, what's the best way to, you know, stay sane, stay centered, everything that's going on, you know, how to focus maybe more on yourself than others, because that's hard for us. So
Yeah.
your advice on just
Yeah.
this in general.
Well, the one thing that I have been doing, and like a lot of us, I put everyone else first. I probably have been studying off and on for my Agile certification for 3 years. And that is going to end here pretty soon. We will leave it at that. You know, it's interesting because in my journey, I, one time about a decade ago, lost about 125 pounds. Now, I tore my rotator cuff very badly while running, and I tripped over my own feet. I often joke that, you know, I do all my own stunts, unfortunately. And so over the last year and a half, because 2 of my friends are a lot younger than I am, and I want to be around to, you know, maybe make them push me in a wheelchair or something, I don't know. But I do try to start every day off at the gym. I'm not quite the maniac I was a decade ago. I would sometimes push so hard that I'd have to lay down for a while before I could move on to the next machine, but I don't do that anymore. You get a little older, you get a little smarter and wiser. And then I try to eat right. And lately, I was feeling kind of sluggish the last few days, and I realized, you know, you've been eating like crap. And with anything, it's all in moderation. And as far as stressing, Randy, I know you were on my webinar last week, so you would have already heard the story, but I always just, if I feel, I always joke that there's this vein in my neck that starts to bulge. And if I am getting the least bit excited, I think of the worst illness I ever had. And yeah, you know, I've never, and I always say, is it better or worse than this? Well, I've never answered that question yes, because there's nothing that's not, it's not going to matter. It's not going to matter on your deathbed. It's not going to matter probably 5 minutes from today. I just truly am that calm. Now, it's taken several years to get there, but I'm also the one that most of my inner circle turns to. I will take confidences to my grave. I don't talk about anything. In fact, I don't even share news that people want me to share. I'm that bad. And it's always gratifying to help somebody out of a funk, because I just view it as wasted time. And let's face it, not to be morbid, but the minute you're born, every minute you're dying, 1 minute at a time. Make all those minutes count. That's the key. And you know, there isn't a more stressful, there are 2 occupations that I feel are the most stressful. There is anything project related and real estate. And I always just tried to go along a straight line and not ride the roller coaster. I always shared that advice with new BAs too. I told them, don't take feedback or criticism personally, unless someone's being rude, and then I would take care of that for them. But they're just trying to make the team better, make the documents better. You are not your requirements, and I just feel that's just a lot. You don't use up all that energy. And I was always willing to share information, because if I don't share information, then I have to do all the work. Honestly, I don't want to do that. Of course, now I have to do all the work, but that's a different story. So that's my advice.
Yeah, that's
so yeah. So the lifelong battle with trying to stay fit, and I'll get there.
Thank you so much, Judy, and thank you everyone for your questions.
I do, not to interrupt you, but I do have just a couple slides that I need to refer to really quickly, and I've enjoyed it tonight too. For the first time anywhere, I'm introducing the Judy emojis. I know you all have heard of emojis, and one of my friends uses them constantly, and I never knew what they were. She was like she's Generation X, and so she's constantly using them. Well, I didn't even know what they meant. So anyway, my graphic designers surprised me the other day, and they sent these to me. And so I tried to put the names in here, but it just got too junky. So this one is angry.
I don't think Judy will ever use that one.
Maybe not. Confused is this one. This is excited, and this is happy. Now this one is laughing. This one is sad, and this one is surprised, and this one is worried. Now I have to tell you a little story about this logo. One of my friends said to me, "Oh, look at that! They gave him glasses, and they also put a J in there." Well, I hadn't even noticed that, and so I asked my designers when I met with them the next time. I go, "Was that on purpose that you put the J there?" They go, "Yes, it was." But what I want your help with, and once again, this is angry, this is confused, excited, and happy. And they would be numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we have laughing, sad, surprised, and worried. I want you to enter in the chat by number which emoji represents, or I guess Judy emoji, I got that wrong, good grief, represents your reaction to my presentation. And I'm always looking for feedback to continue to evolve and improve. And I would really appreciate that. And I'm just having a little fun. But this is the first time anywhere that this has been revealed. So you were the first. I'm going to go on while you're doing that. But one final thought that I want to share with you is that if you show your people how much you care, they will do anything for you, and together the team will succeed. Now, I didn't set out to make this quote up. I did a podcast called Even Better, and it was several months ago, like in October. And Seneca Waugh of Your Clear Next Step, a training company in Iowa, who I also do virtual and in-person business analysis coaching for, she turned it into a quote when they sent out the podcast. And so it just kind of struck with me, that was very important to me. And then, as I said, here is all of my contact information and my website. There's only just a couple pages up there, so that isn't quite complete. And then thank you all, and especially thank you to Latoya, Nosa, Randy, and anyone else that may be involved with the South Florida chapter for having me. I've enjoyed it. I hope that all of you have enjoyed it as much as I have. And so, Randy, what's in the chat?
Hi. So we got all threes all the way around. I mean,
oh, wow.
We're all excited. And
okay. Well, that's exciting. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to turn it back over to you or Nosa, whoever's, I'll stop sharing.
Over to Nosa, but I mean, wow, I really just appreciate everything that you shared. I think I could speak for everyone. Everyone really, truly enjoyed your presentation and the message behind it. So
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Randy, if you don't mind, I just want to add one quick message. This is Danelkis. Judy, I kind of played around with it in the chat box a little bit, and I said that having Judy in my life is what keeps me sane. And I put it playing around, but I'm at the same time very serious about it. I think we all need to have a Judy in our life. You know, someone that you could just open up with, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, work related or life itself, and know that they're going to tell you things straight up, whether you want to hear it or not. And like she said, we do this with each other. We never repeat anything we tell each other, but we keep each other going. And I think that's something that's really important. Just going back to like that balance and keeping ourselves healthy. So make sure you when you're out there, don't look for just someone to look up to and learn from a skills perspective, but just that sanity check is so much more important.
Yes, and thank you. You probably have guessed who one of the two people are that I was referring to in my presentation, but we are both very blunt, to the point, authentic, honest, and transparent. And honestly, who has time to play games? So, yeah, we make each other better. That's the key. Find somebody who will do that for you. And normally it's not a spouse. I have an IIBA widower as my spouse, so. Thank you, Danelkis.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you, Danelkis. Thank you, everyone. I know we're a little bit over time.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries. Just to cover very quickly, IIB offers a bunch of certifications, 3 core certifications, the ECBA, the CCBA, and the CMAP, as well as specialized certifications. So as a BA or an existing BA or even new into the field, you are able to focus and hone in on whatever skills you want to develop to better your team and better your organization. There is a ton of content on the website. Please feel free to go on the website, and then you could reach out to Judy or Danelkis or any one of us in the chapter, and we'll be happy to provide you with some information and resources. To become a member of the South Florida chapter, if you are not currently one and may reside in the South Florida Tri-County area, please visit our website and go on the membership page to become a member. Also, to become a volunteer, please send your information to our president via that email on the screen, and we'll be sure to reach back out to you. We welcome all volunteers in any form. The chapter definitely needs help in continuous growth. Upcoming events.
Just to give you a little kudos to let you guys know, at least you still have a chapter, because the Central Florida IIBA chapter no longer exists.
Thank you very much.
So it's very, very important that we listen to this, because baby, I'm in it now, so you better be ready. We want to lift it. We're going to lift it.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right, so upcoming events. Danelkis, who was very helpful with us in today's meeting, always. We'll have an upcoming event on September the 29th. We look forward to that. So if you are here today, please make sure you look forward to the emails and join us September 29th to listen to Danelkis. Follow us on all our social channels, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. We have a company page, and we also have a group. Please follow both pages. We are posting a ton of content on those platforms. We also have our YouTube page where we are posting videos of events. It's not public, but once you search for it, you'll find it and you can go onto the channel. I want to thank everyone for the time today, and we hope that you enjoy this event. Again, like I said at the beginning, please look forward to the survey and a thank you email that will come to your inbox. We look forward to your responses so that we can provide better events and make sure that we're providing value. Again, thank you very much to Judy. Judy, I appreciate your presentation. It was wonderful. And we
Thank
look
you.
forward to a lot of more content and a lot of more wisdom and nuggets from you.
I enjoyed it. I always enjoy this.
All right. Have a good evening, everyone, and have a good rest of the week.